Just a warning, there are full spoilers ahead for Joker Folie à Deux. I like the first Joker movie. Controversial, I know. I didn't think it was the best movie ever, but I think it was a compelling and pretty fascinating character study of a pretty pathetic, albeit abused and disturbed man in Arthur Fleck. We get to see this traumatized and forgotten individual abandon his pity and tragedy for a more absurdist viewpoint. I think it was pretty awesome that at the end of the movie, we see him embrace the Joker persona and morph into an agent of chaos where he becomes more of an effigy than a person. It's dark, but inspiring in a way. And therein lies the problem. It was inspiring. The Joker's portrayal in this sequel is mean-spirited and borderline misery porn. Arthur was already a victim of physical and sexual abuse by his own mother. He's mentally deranged and has a litany of disorders. He's locked up in Arkham where he's constantly abused by guards and harassed by other inmates. He's being used by his lawyer, used by his therapist, used by the public who are enamored with the Joker persona. He's then stalked and lied to by Harley Quinn, publicly degraded by a corrupt judicial system, a corrupt police force, then he's brutally gang raped by prison guards, barely survives an explosion, is abandoned by the only person he loves, and is then viciously stabbed and killed. I mean, doesn't anyone think this is just a bit much? I think it also highlights the paradoxical nature of the filmmakers. On one hand, they cannot move away from the idea that society's institutions are corrupt and morally bankrupt and require reform. Their thesis is that these industries and these institutions prey upon the weakest and most vulnerable of us on the fringes of society. They love portraying the unfeeling and abusive cops and guards, the corrupt justice and prison system, and Arthur Fleck is the lightning rod to tell that story. But then they hate that people like this sad, pathetic shell of a man. They hate that people empathize with the Joker, that the quote-unquote wrong crowd liked him. Phillips and Cruz spend the whole movie deconstructing the Joker persona, almost pointing and laughing at the fans, saying, haha, you guys are pathetic losers for empathizing with this pathetic loser. The entire thing feels like the filmmakers were too afraid to commit to humanizing a morally questionable character. In today's political climate, because everything must be seen through the lens of modern politics, there's a certain edge that's been lost. If a director makes a character that goes against the grain of modern politics, it's seen as an endorsement. Characters and stories can no longer exist within the confines of their own fantasy. It's why modern writers are so afraid of writing good villains. A lot of people do go back and idolize the Travis Bickles and Patrick Batemans of old, which in and of itself can be a bit cringe at times. But modern writers have overcorrected hard, and now all we have are soft and safe, boring, focus grouped Marvel cartoon villains. I think these writers are afraid of drawing the wrong crowd, the incels and alt-right and misogynists who might idolize these villains. When Joker came out and there was all this fanfare pushed by the media that it was going to kick off the incel uprising, that all these incel losers from the fringes of society were going to start committing crimes and mass shootings and violently lash out now that this character has inspired them. Turns out quite literally nothing happened, other than the fact that it made $1 billion for being a pretty good movie, telling a timeless tale of a morally gray underdog rising up to burn down a society that's abandoned him. God forbid that resonate with anyone. At the end of the day, this is a movie that never really needed to be made. I remember when I watched Joker, I was almost praying it wouldn't make a ton of money so that studio execs wouldn't force a sequel down our throats, but unfortunately here we are. The movie itself just wasn't very good. The musical numbers were actually the best part, surprisingly, because they kind of break away from the soul-crushingly dismal setting of Joker 2. The acting of Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix was enigmatic and nuanced, and they definitely gave it their all. But we're stuck in Arkham and the courthouse, two of the only settings in the entire movie, for 2.5 hours. The movie is overly long and repetitive with so little to say about anything. There's some interesting themes at play, mainly the idea that Arthur Fleck, in order to be healthy, needs to abandon the delusions of the Joker, but that the only thing that makes him feel special, beloved, or seen by other people is this violent and deranged Joker persona. It's an interesting idea that just never really comes to fruition and also never gets fully explored. Honestly, I really wish the filmmakers weren't so spiteful towards their own success, and I really can't shake the feeling that there's more at work here behind the scenes than what they're saying. But none of that really matters when the movie itself just also isn't very good. Joker Folie à Deux had a ton of potential to take Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in new and exciting directions, but ultimately ends up being one giant disappointment.